You know, like I said, it happens, and hopefully some kids can learn from it, but just don't get
Dunk.
This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to dunk.
We say this is Lou Dort and I'm down to Dort.
This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
Cracklin Oat Bran?
Have you had Cracklin Oat Bran?
No.
No. Welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schlecht. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me, sometimes, we used to do this more often back in the day, I feel like. On a Sunday is my good friend, Michele Berra. Michele, what's up?
I'm still mad at Alex for the Nene thing and for the what's it called, champagne thing, where he made me like not protect him just for him to pick him. Yeah. We're going to have a fight one day online.
Alex did a great job hosting last week.
It was awesome.
I really enjoyed listening. I was on vacation with my family. We were at the beach for a week, and it was just nice to, set everything down. I feel like it's good to get perspective and to just set everything down just for a little bit. You come back rejuvenated, maybe get some new ideas. So that was great. So huge thanks to you, Michele, for filling in on 2 days, and to Alex for hosting last week, and then the Fry Pod guys with a hilarious podcast.
It was.
That I think it dropped Friday morning, but they did it live on Thursday night. So
I listened on Saturday. It was just blast. And again, Alex did most of the work. He was awesome last week. So
it was great.
Yeah, I'll forgive him just because of that.
Yeah, it was very fun. Any thoughts on the teams?
I think that Jay and Tayshaun made the better team. I mean, first of all, they don't have Champagne, so that's great. I don't think that they picked Nene, so that's a plus as well. No, it's a modern team with shooting without Tim Hardaway Jr. So it's
not Tim Hardaway Jr.
It's no, I think that they have the better team. Yeah,
I thought they did a good job too. I felt like they got cornered there for like their middle round picks because they were picking guys that didn't shoot, but they started with guys that could shoot. I don't know. It was fun. Listen, you should go listen to it. Go watch it. We're actually going to execute basically that same exercise on Slam and Jam in the next couple weeks, and I'm going to get beat writers to do the protections for their teams.
That's nice.
And so we're going to compile it and then kind of do the same exercise.
I'm sure that John Krasinski will never, ever. I'm protecting Nene, but
Naz Reid. You keep saying Nene.
Why I'm saying Nene and you didn't correct me in the first place? It's Naz Reid.
I got confused a little bit about when you were saying Nene at first, and I'm just like trying to get through the intro part, and I heard you say Nene. I was like, I don't know why he's saying Nene. I thought maybe it was
Naz Reid.
I thought maybe it was a joke that I missed.
No, it's just me having Nene in my mind. Naz Reid.
Naz Reid, who is playing with the USA Select team and is sharing the court with Chet in some of these scrimmages, which I think is just abject disaster. It's just not good. It's just not a good thing. Have you watched any of those?
Yeah, I watched like clips. I watched Cade hit a mid-range jumper and Jade up making like offensive rebounds and one, something like that. But not a ton. Yeah.
J-Dub looks good. We're actually going to tackle that a little bit with the 6 burning questions of the offseason. Also, just so you guys know, and maybe you'll like this, maybe you won't like it. I don't know. I'm not talking about the roster crunch. I'm just not going to do it.
Yay!
I'm so done with talking about it. I'd rather come up with anything else, anything at all to talk about. Now we
talk Nene now.
Now let's talk about Nene Hilario's career. No, I think the topic is tired. The juice has been squeezed. If we go back, it's just an orange that has no juice. So the juice is all gone. Now, we may talk about individual players, but I'm not going to talk about anything related to who do you want to choose for the rest of the roster. I'm done doing that. So,
And we don't have like fresh data points to
there's nothing else
like,
to discuss.
Yeah,
There's
we need to
absolutely-
see those guys
Yeah.
on the court.
There's nothing new to discuss. Now, we'll get some information from training camp, which also may or may not be useful.
Yeah.
Because players are going to talk. The player, if you guys remember last year, the player that everybody talked about had a great summer. He's looking good. I even heard from people within the organization, like not high level guys, lower level people that were just pumping up Trey Man, and we were pumping up Trey Man, and everybody's just on the Trey Man train. Like, this guy, maybe he should start over Dort. Maybe he's going to be this. He's going to be.
Hey, they didn't try that. Maybe that was the key.
Maybe that's what we were waiting for. But it didn't.
Yeah.
It just didn't work out the way we thought. I actually was looking through old pictures on my phone, and if you search if you have an iPhone, you can just search. I just searched NBA just to see what would pop up, and like old tweets were popping up from like way back in the day. And one tweet that popped up that I had screenshotted and probably sent to like the Down to Dunk group was from Royce with one of the players during training camp, talking about how the most improved player during the offseason was Josh Eustace and how good Josh Eustace looked. And, every year there's going to be somebody like that looks great during the summer or made some massive improvement. I mean, it was Isaiah Roby.
Yeah. That's
so we'll get more information where somebody looks awesome, but also take that one with a grain of salt too.
yeah. Michele, weird story time.
I'm into this.
There was a player. I don't know if he's ever playing basketball anyway. His name is Adoya Miller. And he has the double passport thing where he's both American and Italian, and that for minor leagues in Italy is very important because you can't play like a number of these guys. And they get on top of the number of foreign player that you can use. So if you're looking in practice, he was never ever missing a three. Like just a sniper. There was this coach that again is an NBA coach called Marco Crespi that at some point, like after the practice, can you see that? Can you testify that you see that? I said, yes, of course, I'm seeing that. And on Sundays, it was just atrocious. Like he wasn't not even the same guy. Like the face was different, like looking different. He was so afraid of the game time. So it happens that in training camp, you're a person. In preseason, where you have no pressure, you are a person. Like in summer league, you can drop 30, or in G League environment, you can drop 40. But then when you know that it's that time, things really change.
Yeah.
But for this guy, this Adoya Miller guy was insane. Like hitting every jumper, no matter the defense. Like it was insane. And insane. Just not a player on Sundays.
Yeah. It happens, and the off season can be a little tricky. We do have a question here. I don't know if I can answer this very well, but he's paid $5 for this question, and so I feel like he needs to be able to have this question aired out. Danny writes Jr. I know this is a Thunder podcast, but do you have any thoughts on the collapse of the Pac-12 in relation to sports or Thunder media deal? I mean, it's just the evolution of college football. It's weird. Just seeing all the teams that are going to be a part of the Big 12 and all the teams that are now in the SEC. I mean, it's just the new reality. Like everything is changing in college sports. And so the Pac-12 is going to die. And the Big 12, obviously, like that's the conference that I'm most tied to. I went to Oklahoma State. And so it's good to see the Big 12 kind of bouncing back after losing Texas and OU, but I don't have a lot of deep thoughts. I watch very little college football. mostly just because I'm just so locked into the NBA. So, but it's just a weird time, and it's just the evolution. And we'll look back in 10 years, and it will feel normal then. But right now, it just feels strange. Any thoughts? Any Pac-12 thoughts?
No. I again, for me, it's enough to watch some NFL.
Yeah.
That's all I can do for football.
Yeah. Okay. I have 6 burning questions for the Thunder offseason.
Wow.
The first one is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Is he the best player in this FIBA World Cup? The best. So this kind of comes from Tim Bontemps, who has been saying it on all sorts of ESPN platforms. And it sounds cool. Sounds really cool.
I don't like Bontemps being supportive of the OKC Thunder for some reason.
It feels a little gnarly. I agree.
A little wrong.
So the pool of players is not particularly impressive to choose from. I mean, you go through like Group A, Karl Towns, Lester Quinones, who plays for the Warriors, Fontecchio is a part of the Italian team. Jordan Clarkson plays for the Philippines. Yes, he's better than all those guys.
Yes.
Group B, we have Kyle Anderson in China.
That's weird.
It is weird.
I completely missed that happening.
Yeah.
Clarkson, I remember.
Yes.
Kyle Anderson, no.
Yeah, it's very recent, the Kyle Anderson.
Yeah, okay.
Serbia, we have Bogdanovic, Poku, who will not play because he's just not ready yet. Jovic and Petrushev with a Petrushev, who plays for the Sixers. Yes, better than all those guys. Group C is interesting. Giannis, who had to have his knee cleaned up, is probably not going to play. So
are we counting him or not?
No.
Okay.
He would clearly be the best player.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And then Thanasis is on the team too. But yeah. Now you get to the U.S. This is where things get interesting. Paulo Banchero, Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, Ant Edwards, Halliburton, Josh Hart, Ingram, Triple J, Cam Johnson, Walker Kessler, Bobby Portis, Austin Reeves.
First of all, what the heck with these teams? Like,
it's a weird
Kessler
team.
and Portis?
Yeah.
Like, I would much rather have like Cade and J-Dub just playing there instead of these two guys. Just play without centers.
I know. Like, why is Bobby Portis on this team?
Yeah, I don't really understand it.
Why in the world is Bobby Portis on this team?
Like, just play Paolo.
Like the team, the 2019 team that got 7th place in the tournament.
No, they will win more just because we are in Group C.
Tatum on that team.
Yes, but again, we are in Group C, and we didn't have yet a team that is mildly interesting.
Yeah, they're playing Jordan, there's no NBA guys. New Zealand has no NBA guys. Greece is not going to have Giannis. If Greece had Giannis, it would be interesting.
Yeah,
but they don't. Yeah, I mean, they're going to get through Group C. But I'm just saying, like, the roster feels that way. Not that they're heading for 7th place, but like the roster is just like, man.
Yeah.
Like, how many All NBA guys are on this team?
From this year, none, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, that's weird. That's a little weird.
Yeah.
We just have 0 All NBA guys. Where, like, there's All NBA guys on other teams,
like Canada.
Like Canada. Group D, Jonas Valanciunas and Tubelis. I don't know this guy.
Azuolas Tubelis.
You know him?
No.
Okay. Okay. I don't know him. I know most of the NBA guys. I don't know that guy. Mexico does not have an NBA player on the roster, and then Vooch is playing for Montenegro.
That's also weird that Mexico doesn't have any NBA player.
Yeah, it is a little weird. They Eduardo Nájera is one that comes to mind that played for Mexico.
Yeah, but in general, there is no tradition in Mexico having like NBA players, but their team is not terrible, or at least it used to be like a normal NBA, normal like nation who has good basketball principles and stuff like that. They have a league, like players go there to play, not always, but sometimes. I don't know.
Not very. I mean, the sport is just not that popular.
Yeah,
in Mexico,
yeah, maybe so.
Which is strange, just because it's so close to the U.S.
Yeah,
but like Nahara, Jorge Gutierrez, Gustavo Ion, Juan Toscano Anderson.
Yeah. He's not playing?
Thomas.
Like JTA is not playing for that team?
I don't think so.
That's weird.
He's not listed. Yeah, that's a little weird. Then you get to Australia is like loaded with NBA guys.
Yeah.
Xavier Cooks, Dyson Daniels, Dante Exum, who's back in the NBA. Welcome back, Dante Exum. Josh Giddey, Josh Green, Joe Ingles, Jacques Landell, Patty Mills, Matisse Tybel, and Jack White. That's a loaded.
That's a good team. That's a nasty team. Yeah.
Yeah. That's going to be really tough. This group is actually kind of tough.
Yeah. There are 3 teams that are actually good teams. Whereas like Group D, like you have Egypt and Mexico. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, that's a rough. Jonas Valanciunas is going to eat in that group. Yeah, and then like Finland is in Group E with Markkanen, who's going to be really good, not better than Shea.
No.
Germany, who's got Schroeder, who's going to be, I mean, he's a great international player.
Yeah.
Daniel Tice, Franz Wagner, and Mo Wagner. That Germany team is going to be nasty as well. Like that's one to watch.
Yeah, and Germany has like good players all around Europe. So I mean, there are good players, even if not NBA players. So that team is going to be tough for Australia. Finland, I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, and then Japan's got Yuta Watanabe, who is a fun player. Group F has Luka Doncic for Slovenia. Like, that's the player that, like, are you ready to say that Shea is better than Luka?
Individually, no. But to me, is a question worth asking. If you start your team today, who are you choosing? I really think that Shea offers you way more versatility in terms of how you build your team, whereas Luka needs a very specific kind of team. So I think that Luka is better in terms of overall talent, is better in terms of like being able to be an offensive juggernaut by himself.
Yeah.
But does he make who is around him better, like Shea did last season? Does he allow guys like, I don't know, Josh Green and guys like that being their best version? I don't know that.
Yeah.
So
you lost me. You lost me there at Josh Green being the best version. I don't know that it's tough with that roster, with what they have done, because they have basically like traded out and lost guys, and it's been whittled down.
But why they did that?
I think there's a lot of incompetence going on in Dallas.
Sure. Okay. Still,
I mean, they traded for Christian Wood. I mean, come on, man. Like what? Like what
because Luka needs space. He needs. I know.
Christian Wood, man. It's Christian Wood.
I know.
Is there any world where the Thunder would have ever any competent organization would they have ever traded for him for the player?
Fair.
No.
Can you tell me about a player that actually got better around Luka?
I mean, Maxi Kleber has become like a very good player. Is he that with everybody else? I'm not for sure.
Was he there before? I think so.
Yeah, I don't know that he was that good.
Oh yeah, it was like steady, hitting trees. It's just like a natural growing. It's not like exploding as a player. It's just basically
think about the Western Conference Finals run with him though. Like Dorian Finney-Smith, like blossomed. Like that team, they made the Western Conference Finals.
Okay. Then
I mean, that would be my argument, like for Luka, is like he's already led a team. He and Jalen Brunson who should still be the duo there. Is like
Yeah.
Brunson is like clearly blossoming in this Team USA, this Team USA camp, and is like labeled as like the leader. I mean, the Mavs blew it. they just absolutely blew it, not pairing those two.
Yeah.
But they made the West Finals, and I think Luka made the players around him better and accentuated what they had, and they just have fumbled the ball since then.
Yeah, maybe so. But again, to me, is Luka. Again, I think that the versatility thing is something that I believe in. Like, you need to build a specific kind of team alongside Luka.
I've been kind of thinking about this. I feel like the Thunder are building a team full of Manu Ginobili's, like Manu Ginobili type of guys, with Shea and J-Dub and Giddey. Like those guys, none of them are like, hey, I have to have the ball. And Manu was never that way either, but Manu could dominate. And Manu could have had his own team. I mean, Denver was like well chronicled as a team that was like, we would make Manu our guy. Like we would make him you could have the whole team. And the Thunder are kind of taking that mold of player, like unselfish, but can kind of drive and get to where he wants and could shoot and do all these things. And obviously like those three guys don't exactly match, his skill set to a T, but it's that kind of player. That's just like Manu could have played with anybody.
Yeah.
And I think you can say the same thing for SGA, for Giddey, and for J-Dub. Like those three, I think they could play with any team. You could play them at multiple positions. You could see a world where, Giddey plays the 4 for somebody. You could see a world where Shea is like the off-ball guy instead of being the on. There's just, and that's how Manu was. So to me, it's just interesting. I was just on a run this morning and just thinking about like this is a very interesting squad. And Manu Ginobili is like a player that I think is a little bit forgotten with how great he was.
Yeah.
And this team is kind of filling up with the Manu type players. And I just think it's a very interesting concept. I'm just so intrigued to watch him play. Watching a little bit of what J-Dub did. I watched one of the scrimmages in entirety and then I've seen clips of others. But the way that J-Dub is like physically maturing is like, holy smokes.
Are those available?
Yeah, there's some guy that like videoed it on YouTube, basically just like his iPhone or something.
Okay.
To watch the whole thing. It's like 40 minutes long. So I watched it in the airport yesterday. I am outrageously excited about him. But let's go back to our question because we're going to talk about them here in a second. Okay. Luka is really the only guy I think that I would say is better. But is there a chance that Shea could pass him? Certainly, yes. And some of that could be that the Thunder, like the Mavs are up here right now, the Thunder are here. The Thunder could just jump the Mavs pretty easily. And then have that same success where in 2 years, the Thunder are the team that's getting to the West Finals, and then the Mavs are having to trade Luka because Luka's fed up. Like that could happen. And then everybody's like, "Whoa, man, SGA is way better than Luka." Like, there's a world where that happens. I just don't think. I think we're jumping the gun to get there yet. I think if you're saying that now, you just want to be the first. You just want to be the first to say it. Like we just haven't really actually seen it yet.
Yeah, I agree. Jamal Murray makes it for a fair competition, but to me, Shea is much better. There is a question from Chris Hestis on the chat. The better question is Shea the best player on Team Canada? And I guess he refers to Jamal Murray. I think Shea is better.
I just don't think there's that much. I mean, Jamal has he won the title. He did the thing.
He was great.
And he was very, very good. I just think Shea is a much better defender and just like a much more versatile offensive player. I mean, if Jamal Murray did not have Jokic, I think things are a little bit different for him and for obviously, like, how good are the Nuggets without Jokic and Murray being like their number one guy?
Yeah.
I think that there would be a lot more questions about Murray, but I think that pairing is just perfect. It's
I agree.
absolutely perfect. And he accentuates everything that Jokic does and vice versa. And so we just saw like the fully optimized version of Jamal Murray. And it was beautiful basketball. It was great. I think he's a very good player. I just think that Shea's more talented.
Yeah, I agree.
But that Canada team's loaded too.
Yeah.
Jamal,
Shea.
SGA, RJ Barrett, Dylan Brooks, Dort, Nikhil Alexander-Walker, Kelly Olynyk, Dwight Powell, O'Shea Brissett, Corey Joseph. I mean, that's a nice squad. They're going to be really tough. Where's Dort? Where does Dort rank in that group? Jamal, SGA are obviously the top. I'd put RJ at 3.
Yeah. And then I think there's Dort. I wouldn't pick Dylan Brooks before Dort.
Just because of the antics alone, I wouldn't pick him.
Yeah, but just like Dort is a better defender. Like maybe Dylan is a little bit better as a shooter. But like the decision making is just terrible. So
yeah, it's bad. I like Kelly Olynyk quite a bit. I think he's gone under the radar a little bit as a helpful player just because he hasn't played for a team that's done anything in a while.
Mm-hmm.
But if Kelly Olynyk made it if he got back to Miami or something again, I think people would be a little surprised at how good of a player he is.
Yeah, I think that Kelly would fit perfectly in OKC, to be honest.
He would also fit perfectly in OKC if he's like the Thunder's backup center.
Yeah, as a supercharged version of Mike Muscala. Like,
yeah. Now we're talking.
And he can pass better than Mike.
Yeah,
I think he can shoot as well as Mike.
Yeah.
So yeah, he would be great.
I'd be in on that.
Yeah, let's bring him in. Yeah.
If the Thunder were ready to compete, like, I mean, obviously they're going to compete, but if they were ready to like try to make a run, I'd be pushing like, hey, they should push the button, like 2 second rounders for Kelly Olynyk, Yeah.
And there was a legit chance that in 2 years, Jay Will is in the same ballpark as a player. Like a descending Kelly Olynyk and like he can pass. The shooting we need to see.
Yeah. And that was, I mean, Olynyk was like a crazy good college player.
Yeah.
I mean, he was amazing. But yeah, that Canada team is going to be tough. Canada, Australia, the US, like those are the most loaded teams. And like France has like Ntilikina, Batum, Fournier, Gobert.
I just hope that Canada steamrolls France.
That would be a win for the world, I feel like.
Yeah. Being France, can I root loudly against them?
I think you can. And then Latvia, Porzingis, and our guy Davis Bertans. And the Thunder have a lot of representation in this tournament.
Right, like 7?
Bertans, yeah, I think that's right. Bertans, Dort, Shea, that's 3. I'm not missing anybody else from those other teams.
No.
Garuba.
Yeah, that's 4. Jack White and Josh Giddey.
Jack White, Josh Giddey, 5,
that's
6.
6.
And
Poku, well,
Poku would have.
Yeah, Poku.
I think there's 6. But that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. All right. But I think he's probably the second best player in FIBA. And that's okay. That's very good.
Yeah.
That's very good. Just like the pool of players isn't just something insane. And
even if you put inside the best players, he can still be like top 6, top 7 in terms of like non-Americans. Because you have Embiid, who is clearly better. You have Jokic, who's again clearly better. You have Giannis. And that's probably it.
Yeah, I think that's right. Okay. Burning question number 2. Does J-Dub and Chet's participation in Team USA camp does it ensure that they're both in for like a bump? Do they get a Team USA bump heading into this next season?
Well, you've seen more than I did, so you can tell me about like how pumped and jacked they were about being part of that U.S. team, U.S. select team. I'm sure that like for Chad, I would say no. He was part of the um, U.S. basketball sphere before he won with that jersey against Wembanyama. So I guess that for him, maybe it's a no. For Jada, but I think it meant something. And again, if I look at the roster, there is no way that it's out with some of the guys that are in. I mean, let's do this. Banchero, okay. Michael Bridges, okay. Jalen Brunson, okay. Anthony Edwards, again, okay. Tyrese, yeah. Josh Hart, no. Brandon Ingram, probably yes. JJJ, well, okay, you need to have at least one big man. Cameron Johnson, no. Just no. Walker Kessler, hell no. Bobby Portis,
That's a weird
no.
one to me.
Austin Reeves, okay. But yeah, I mean, just get J-Dub in there.
Yeah.
Especially if you pick Walker Kessler. Like, come on.
Yeah, maybe I'm going to be wrong, but Walker was very good. You know, he was very good in his rookie season.
Yeah,
but
so was J-Dub.
I think the hype is gone a little bit insane.
And again, at FIBA level, you have you have advantage in keeping like a big man there. So that is something where, you know, having a 7-footer that can swat everything and clean every rim attempt that is like rimming on the basket, those are stuff that count. And protecting the paint is something that counts. But again, Bobby Portis.
Yeah, I don't understand the Bobby Portis thing. I mean, nice player, but I just frankly don't really get it.
Yeah,
he's loud. He's got big eyes. I don't know. Maybe they're looking at the biggest eyes in the world here. Yeah, I'm out on that too. I don't understand. Chet, fine. Like, if you don't want to include Chet, I don't think that's. I think that he's got to bulk up a little bit, because I do think his best position is just center. And before you just send him in, I don't even know if like he would want to be. I mean, he probably would definitely want to be there, but I don't know if that's something that he's quite ready for yet. As far as, but I do think that he'll be a part of that program, and likely will be playing for Team USA at some point in his career. I don't know what to expect with Chet going into the season. I think that there's going to be some really high highs and some low lows with Chet this season, because I think physically there's going to be some challenges for him. And then I also just think with the way that he wants, like, he really does want to create his own offense, and you can see that a lot. And I just don't know that he's ready to do that in the NBA either. And so, but I do think his teammates are going to help him a ton. I think he's going to shoot a pretty high percentage from the field. And I think that if he can just fit in with the team and allow his teammates to just create for him, I think he's going to be awesome. But I do think that there's going to be like some self-creation questions that happen with him. And I just don't think that it's time to answer those even throughout year one. I think that one is going to take time. And I think he can get there. But I do think that there's going to be questions with J-Dub, holy smokes, man.
Yeah, hype is too high.
I don't know if it is.
Yeah, we need to be calm and judicious about where we go with this, because I mean, of course, if I don't know, just to not get burned again, and then I have to answer.
Burned from what?
What
are we getting burned from?
I don't know, from having too many hopes. Because if J-Dub is, I mean, okay, last week or 2 weeks ago, I don't remember, when I said, like, what number of wins will get you excited
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about this later. But if you think that J-Dub is like bound to have an exceptional season, I just don't see this team winning like less than 46, 47 games. Like if J-Dub is what you have in mind now, which is borderline all-star,
I haven't really even said anything.
I know you very well. Like, we are talking about borderline all-star. I'm not saying all-star, but say borderline.
Yeah, he's not making the all-star team.
No, but we are talking about like 16, 17 points per game on high-level efficiency. Isn't that right? Isn't that what you have in mind?
I mean, that's possible. Yeah, I think that's totally possible.
And if that is the case, then like this team will be like mind-blowing. And about Chet, I get why you have concerns and why you can say, well, okay, there is a chance that with this self-creating stuff and the size, I don't quite think that there will be a ton of lows, only because Chet's defense has never ever wavered, even in summer league settings. Like you can see Lou Dort, who I love as a defender, like taking turns off, like taking possessions off and saying, okay, I missed that one. Even in his rookie season, he was great at times. He could have had, like against Harden, he was perfect for an entire game. Like Chet doesn't take possessions off, never. Like, and he's always in the right spot. And I love him as a center. Yes.
Yeah.
So for Thomas Riddle, who was saying in the chat that my gate against center is getting ridiculous. Yes, I think that centers that are normal NBA players are just way less valuable than normal players at different positions. And you need to be extremely elite in order for me to think about putting a center on the court. And the proof of that is that if you place Kenrich Williams, who is an average NBA player, I would say, as your center, you are much, much, much better off than having J. Will.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, they were just like flat out. They were.
Yeah. So this is my thinking. If you don't have a great center, then just don't play with the center. Yeah. So it's philosophical. Like if you have Embiid, of course you want him. If you have a center that accentuate what you do, like Brook Lopez, great, do it. If you have Jokic, of course, I would love to have Jokic. Like I can even say, okay, I want to have Domas on my team. So I'm not hating centers. I just need to have very, very, very special ones in order for me to say, okay, he's worth 35 minutes. This is my take on center. That is why I don't love Naz Reid / Nene Hilario, because this is, to me, even if Naz Reid has talent and he's an NBA player, to me, on my team, he would probably be the third backup.
Yeah, like, I am kind of with you on the Naz Reid thing, if only just because of the way that the Wolves are constructed. Like,
yeah.
And you spelled that out very well, I thought. And yeah, if you put Naz Reid out on the trade market, like what is Naz getting you?
Like a couple of seconds, maybe.
Yeah, maybe 3 seconds.
I would not pay for that.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Who's paying for that?
That's the thing, is that right now, and I think this is pretty common knowledge, like there's a lot of centers that are available via trade. And teams don't want them.
Yeah.
And if they're traditional centers that can't, basically, if you like can't pass,
yeah, like Naz is a fine offensive player, but he's not.
He's like a Enes Kanter 6-man center.
Yeah, shooting threes. Like,
and he's a nice player, very talented, very good player, but just like the reality of the direction the league is moving. He doesn't necessarily fit that mold.
Yeah, player. I would put Naz Reid in 88 pick and rolls per game. Just try me. Try me.
Yeah. I don't disagree. Sentiment. While I don't think that he will be, I think that he'll get protected and maybe we'll be surprised. Maybe we'll be surprised. But yeah, if you already have two centers that are like being paid like franchise players, then you shouldn't invest more in players like that. But Nasri's talented. I mean, he's on the select team, for a reason. He's still relatively young.
For a reason, sure. A reason, yes.
He's still 23, turns 24 in 20 days.
Yeah.
So
that's a good calling card. For being that young is quite proficient at what he does.
Yeah, he's younger than what I think a lot of people think. But
yeah.
I mean, also you look at how much he played during the playoffs. I mean, it went down quite a bit. He's averaged 11 points, almost 5 boards and an assist in the regular season. In the playoffs, it was 4 points, 2 assists, or 2 rebounds, 0 assists per game. Like, he just didn't play much in the playoffs. And that's where the value, I think, just goes down. Is like, what's the goal here? Like, if it's just to play like regular season games, like, yeah, heck yeah, give me Naz Reid all the time. If it's to win playoff games, like, Naz is not going to be that guy. Like, Naz is not going to be the guy that's going to help deliver playoff games for you. J-Dub, do you know J-Dub splits, his post All-Star splits?
Not off the top of my head.
It's insane.
But I guess it's like
18.6 points per game, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 54, 42, 88 shooting splits. 64% true shooting. That's only on 20% usage.
Yeah.
Which is like average usage for a starter.
I mean, if that is, I mean, we said it 2 years ago for Shea.
Plus 13.
Yeah, with him on the court. Yeah. So for Shea, we said the same thing. Okay, these are just cooked numbers. So there's no way that Shea is that kind of player. And boom.
There you go. I don't think he's going to be 18, 5, and 4. But if he's 16, 5, like, he could be like 16, 6, and 3.
I think he will average assists just because he loves to.
He had a rough start to his season. He had a rough start. He had broke his face, like, just being a rookie. There was just a rough start. 12 points, 4 boards, 3 assists per game, shooting 50, 32, 75. Like, still, that's like pretty good for a rookie.
Yeah.
But he took it up to a significantly better level in the second half of the season. And he looks so much stronger and so much more confident in his pull-up game, and can just get to the hoop in ways that a lot of guys can't. I do have some heightened expectations for him.
Okay, we'll talk about this later.
Yeah, we can talk about it later. Okay.
Yeah.
Third burning question. Usman Garuba's comments to the Spanish media makes you think they just got a pretty good chance of making this roster. Is that true?
I don't know. But I don't know how burning
is this burning in your heart?
Yeah. But when we scouted Usman Garuba 2.5 years ago, something like that, we said, okay, he's a bulky player. He can hit corner threes, and he can probably play defense at a very good level.
Yeah.
He's not in the best shape of his life. Let's put it this way. He got stronger probably, but also I think he weights a little bit too much for being like a steady 4-man in the league. He can switch all right, but I wonder like how much he really can at that size. So I think that even if he loves OKC, and there are very good reasons for, I do believe that there were talks.
I mean, would you be surprised if they talked to every player that they acquired?
No, but I think that he could have been like a legit choice at 18 had they not trading the pick, or 16.
It's possible.
So suppose that they have 2 picks. I don't think it's crazy to say, okay, the picks are Trey Mann and Usman Garuba. They got a lot of value for Şengün, and that's it. So I believe that part. I don't know if this roster has a clear-cut need for a guy like Garuba. If he plays his cards very well, Like he's in the Jack White, Garuba, Poku, JRE sweepstakes in terms of getting a roster spot.
Yeah. Well, I
Is he
mean,
dead last? No. Is he front runner? Still no.
yeah. Well, we just don't know. We just have no clue. And that's all TBD. You know, they got to get into camp. I have been saying for a while that I think Garuba's got a good chance. And I think that that's true, that he does have a good chance to make the roster.
Well, he has another card to play. Like if he's exceptional in this World Cup,
yeah,
that is something that I think front office will notice.
Oh yeah, I mean he was I think 12th or 13th on Vecini's board heading into that draft, which is a pretty good draft.
Yeah,
but I think that I think he's got a chance, but I don't know. The comments about them talking to him and being encouraging are like very unsurprising to me with regards to like the behavior of this Thunder front office. Like I think they value relationships with not just their own players, but just with players around the league. And they've shown that with like the way that they have treated players with it, like that they trade. You know, they have very good communication with players. That's not true of every franchise. And so the fact that the Thunder have good communication skills with players that they're traded for is like very unsurprising to me. But it's cool. And I think that it didn't really change my mind about Garuba. I kind of felt this way since I acquired him. Okay. Burning question number 4. Who is the most slept on player for the Thunder? So this Sportsman 405 sent me a little tweet. I was about to go on the beach and I looked at my phone. I saw this little tweet come through from our guy, Sportsman 405. And he said something about Jada being slept on. Obviously, I'm not sleeping on him.
no.
But I honestly don't think Jada being slept on at all. I don't really think. I mean, obviously, Shea and Chet slept on at all. Maybe Giddey a little bit. Is there somebody that you're just like, oh my gosh, like this guy's being slept on as somebody that could really help the Thunder?
Well, I do think that Isaiah Joe this summer has been kind of forgotten in all this.
Definitely. Without a doubt, he has been.
And he was probably the barometer of OKC season. If you look at the 3-point percentage of Isaiah Joe and the correlation with winning for OKC, that is pretty straightforward. So when it was hot, like really hot, the team was just winning because efficiency, like it will get you there. You will lose some by scoring 130 and losing again, like they did against the Hawks. But you can also just, hey, when you have that guy who's hitting like threes at 45%, and to me, like next year Isaiah Joe will have less touches, but if it makes sense, better touches, and I think that he will play quite a lot. There was another question, so I'm not getting too much into this, but to me, Isaiah Joe is I'm not sure if he's slept on, but it's not just discussed as a key player in that rotation, and it may change. But again, to me, he needs to get minutes, and he needs to be a rotation player, firmly in the rotation more than others. Like I get that Wiggins is a better all-around player, but I just think that Isaiah Joe is more conducive to winning basketball games if he's shooting like 43-44% like he did last season.
Yeah, I wonder if he just is a player that needs a smaller role, like just like a 15 to 20 minute night, kind of,
sure,
and not like a 26 to 30 a minute night. 30 minute. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. I'm out of practice here. 30 minutes a night. Like I just don't know if he's somebody that needs that. And I think this roster is going to give him that kind of role. I think they really needed him down the stretch of the season. And I think that teams started to figure out, okay, like we got to close out to this guy.
Yeah.
You know, we really don't have much of a choice. And the numbers kind of bear that out a little bit. Pre-All-Star break, 15 minutes per game. And in 15 minutes, he shot 45% from three. In the second half, in 24 games, 26 minutes per game, 34% from three.
Yeah.
and 40% from the field. Like that, those numbers, 40% from the field, 34% from three, those aren't good enough
No.
to play big minutes.
No.
If he's going to play, he has to be, he doesn't have to shoot 45% from three.
He kind of has to. Like, he has to be like Seth Curry. Like 42, 43, 44.
Yeah. I think that to provide like certain value, yes. But even if he's just 40% and not 35, then I think he's going to be treated as a shooter, which I think is where the true value is for him.
Yeah.
But
By the way, Ty Scott is so right in the chat. If anyone on this team is slept on, is Bertans. Yeah, I completely forgot him.
People are dead asleep on Bertans. I actually don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are dismissing him. Some people are even thinking that he could be cut. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I do think that he's going to play some. Now, is he going to play a big role? No.
He's going to play like 50 games.
He'll play 50 games and he'll help. I mean, there's going to be some times where he and Isaiah Joe are out there for the Thunder and they have this like all bomber lineup. Like that's like book that as something that is going to be like a novelty item that's going to happen within this Thunder season. I think that is going to happen. Do I necessarily think people are sleeping on him? Like he's a bit player. He's a role player. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I mean, I think people are always ready and willing to dismiss Lou Dort. So
yay!
So maybe like he's the guy that people are sleeping on a little bit. And maybe even Cason Wallace a little bit just because he was not great on the back end of Summer League.
Yeah.
So,
but for Lou Dort, like nobody's really discussing stuff that are not real or just, I mean, the numbers are bad, like straight up bad.
Yeah.
Offensively. And to some degree, if you have the nicest offense in the world, you can allow a low volume, low efficiency player who gives you so much in a ton of different areas.
Yeah.
But it has to be low volume and low efficiency. I mean, if Lou Dort comes up and he takes 3 corner threes a game, 1 under 3, a couple of layups, and he's still inefficient, and he takes 6-7 shots, I think that an offense can sustain because he's so great on defense. He's so disruptive. And there are games when he starts hitting and he knows that he can get a little bit more, and he gives that. But it has to be like, hey, I'm hot. Just give me for this game, but the next game I'll behave. Because the rim attempts are just killers.
It's bad.
Like killers. It's so inefficient.
Yeah.
That even if I believe that he saves you 10 possessions a game by being there defensively, on some nights he loses you way more than that with his inefficiency, and you just can't allow it. So I'm not saying get rid of Dort. I'm just saying at some point the inefficiency is something that you need to limit somehow. And if you can't, you just limit the amount of minutes.
Yeah. I think that's not totally unfair.
Thank you.
His post All-Star break numbers are really rough. And and you wonder, he just exerts so much energy. And you kind of maybe hope that he can learn to pace himself a little better. But in 32 minutes, in 24 games, post All-Star break, 13, 5-1, shooting 34, 28, 80.
Yeah, that's not an NBA player there.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. 47% true shooting. Offensive rating of 105 when he's on the floor.
Yeah, which is
defensive rating of 118.
Yeah. To me,
that's just not good enough.
The 32 minutes is something that next year, even if he starts, which I think he will,
definitely.
Why are you to me, 24, 22, 23, OKC has a ton of guards and a ton of options. So you play him 22, 23 minutes. He's still a key contributor. You can use him situationally, like more to shadow the opponent's best player, but you can kind of limit the energy that he spends for the entire season, and you can maximize that window of time for him where he is focused on defense, he takes his chances in offense, and that will be like just a different way to use him.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you remember like game 1 and game 2 of the playing, you said, well, but there is also that version of Lou Dort.
Yeah, I would never. I'm a huge Dort believer. I think that he's also a young player that can still get better.
Mm-hmm.
He turned 24 in April. He still has some runway left. Now, does he have like crazy upside still? Like, probably not. I think once you get to 24, you kind of figure out who you are. Can he become a better shooter? That will be the big question. I think he's going to be in the NBA for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that if he wants to remain a starter, he's got to start hitting threes with consistency. Because there became a point where like a guy like Jay Crowder was a player that had this trajectory where he just kind of came out of nowhere, similar to Dort. He was a second-round pick, became a starting level player, and started for those Boston Celtics teams as they were kind of on their way up. But then was kind of passed around a little bit, labeled as like some starter, but could not be efficient enough, and then became kind of like this like role player off the bench for teams.
Mm-hmm.
Like that could be Dort's trajectory, not necessarily that he gets traded, but that maybe he becomes a bench player for the Thunder at some point if he can't be more efficient. But if he can be an efficient corner 3-point shooter, limit his usage a little bit more, cut out the wild drives, figure out when to drive. I think it's more of like a feel, like timing thing than it is like he can't do it. Because the truth is, like NBA defenses are just really, really good, and especially if you aren't elite at getting to your spots, they're going to find you and they're going to make it really difficult on you. Like unless you're at like the level of like Shea or J-Dub or guys like that just know just intrinsically in their just brains, like they were built to find these weird angles and to get to spots on the court that others can't. Dort's not that. Does that mean that Dort can't be a good NBA player? No, it doesn't. I think that he's got to just work on decision making. And I think that adding Chet, adding Cason Wallace, adding Micic, you're adding all these decision makers to the team. Like there's a pattern with who ends up on this Thunder team, and it's all about decision making. And I think that Dort, he's like, it's survive and advance. I think that he's got a firm like stranglehold on the starting spot for this season. Is that true for the next 3 years? I think that is less certain. But I do think that he gets slept on to a degree just because I think that what he provides is just a guy who he is just firmly in the game.
Doesn't get slapped on, just
firmly in the game.
Because I lose my sleep thinking about that. Whether it's I'm sure he's not slapped on.
Okay. We have 2 more burning questions. Before we do those, let's take a quick break. And we're back after that quick break. Michele, burning question number 5. Who plays more this season? Vasily, first of all, tell me how you say his last name. How are you saying his last name?
I think I flip-flop between Micic and Micic with less. Yeah.
Micic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vasily Micic.
Okay. Vasily Micic or Isaiah Joe? Who plays more? This kind of ties into a little bit on the slept on Isaiah Joe play.
Yeah, I think that, but you're right with Isaiah. I think that the best way to utilize him is just as a bench player that can come in and play 16, 18 minutes. Whereas I think if you tell me total minutes played, I can get to Isaiah Joe, but if I think about the average of like when he plays, I think that Micic has an edge there. I think he's 22, 23, 24 minutes kind of guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what to expect here. I think Mitsic is probably the guy that's going to play more.
Yeah.
I just think that he's a little bit more versatile. He's a little bit closer to the type of player that I think they want to have out there, especially like at the end of games. I just think that having more decision makers, more guys that could put pressure on the rim.
And who sits if Mitsic is there at the end of games, Andrew?
Probably Chet.
Oh, I see that. Okay. Very, very convenient and smart.
I don't know. I mean, he could definitely replace Dort in certain lineups, but if they're playing against like the Suns, let's say they matched up against Phoenix in round 1.
Yeah.
Dort's going to play 40 minutes a night. Like just
if you say a different team, I would say yes. With Phoenix, I think that Dort is terrible against Book and Durant. Maybe against
You think he's terrible against Book?
Yeah. He's terrible against tall shooters. He's more
that tall.
Yeah, he's taller than him, like 3 inches taller. He used to cook him. Like against Dame, against Harden, against like physical guys, against guys that are not really good at creating separation. Books just elevates and hits.
So who are you going to put on him?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
I just know that Mark will, if that was the series, I mean, they would put Dort on him. Like, I just don't even have it.
I don't know. I really don't know. He's not effective. Check the numbers.
I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying if there was a playoff series, if it started today,
I would put J-Dub. Sure. I would put J-Dub. Like, for real.
I mean, I would give him some chances, but I can just tell you that if you were to ask, like, who does Mark trust to guard the best player on the opposing team, like, who would you say that it is?
I agree, but Book and Dort is not a good coupling. I think that you would be more in a better shape if you have a guy like J-Dub, because Book is not a guy that is bothered by a certain kind of defense.
Yeah.
I think that with Booker, you really need to just have size and hands. Like, for example, I don't think that Dort is a great defender for Shea. Shea is not bothered by pesky defender. He's bothered by length quite a lot. So if you have Herb Jones, that is a good player to put against Book as well. If you have a guy like Dort, I don't know, he's awesome against certain players, like players that are not really good at creating separation, with and like elevation. Like against Kawhi was sensational.
Yeah,
because Kawhi, this version of Kawhi takes it a little bit longer to just race for the jumper. And Dort is there. With Book, no. But in general, yes, I understand and I agree.
I mean, the truth is, like, who's really bothering Devin Booker is, like, there's not many people. I mean, you look at what he did in the playoffs in 11 games, 33.7 points per game, 4.8 rebounds, 7 assists. His shooting splits, just like, make sure you're sitting down, 58, 50, 86.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, I was really, really, really high on Booker, but never ever in like I was really high for the Thunder. I said, okay, we have there.
He could be Isaiah Joe.
Yes. I thought he could be a very, very good shooter.
Yeah.
I told the story many times because I saw him taking a three, like getting the ball with the back at the basket, and in one motion, he was just flipping his body and hitting that. I said, oh, that thing is unbelievable. But never, ever, ever in my head, it was this superstar who, like, he was just, again, that part.
He's unreal, man. He's so good. I don't know that really anybody has, like, who's got the guy that's going to bother him.
I think that Herb Jones can. I think that Marcus Smart can.
What's the key?
Maybe Prime Kawhi can.
I mean, Prime Kawhi.
Maybe Giannis can.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know about Marcus Smart. What are the biggest differences in Marcus Smart and Dort's defense to you? Because the size isn't
Marcus Smart is just nastier.
You think
I
so?
think
I don't know, man.
yeah.
He-
He's I think Marcus Smart is just thinker of defense at a higher level than Lou Dort. He knows he has more experience. He knows what to do against basically everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know if he has every game of that now. He's in a different part of his career, but like he's more into the Iggy kind of defenders where like Iggy could just be so disturbing for Kevin Durant. I like Iguodala can't stop Kevin Durant, but he can get into his grill and do just the tiny little better than most of the guys out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's also just like willing to be a little bit more dirty than Dort is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Last burning question. What did you say? What did you say? Misic?
Micic, yes. Average Micic, total minutes probably is Ejo. I think the Micic plays 60 games, 65 games.
Yeah.
And so maybe.
Yeah. I think that's probably right. I'm interested to see what he looks like on the court. He's either being way overrated or way underrated by people within the fan base.
I don't know if he's overrated or underrated. I think that the swing skill for him will be his ability to adapt to an off-ball role, an active off-ball role, which is a big question for me. And in second, how good of a positional defender he can be, because in terms of being like a great defender, like nobody is buying that. But can he be serviceable there?
Yeah, it's a good question. Okay, last one. And then we kind of came up with this in just a conversation, which is how a lot of great ideas are formed for this podcast. But what if, just join me. This was it like February?
Mm-hmm.
What would have happened to this Thunder team had one, Kenrich Williams not gotten hurt, two, Shea doesn't get COVID. Remember that? Remember Shea got COVID and Kenrich got hurt in like the same week. And it felt like the Thunder could have pivoted toward tanking if they wanted to. It felt like the opportunity was there for that. And it was just a terrible week of luck for the Thunder. And it caused them to lose some games. And they traded Mike, which I think definitely, especially down the stretch of that Thunder season, like things got pretty choppy down the end of the season for OKC.
Yeah.
And had those events not happened, I just wonder what their win total would have been. And I know that Sam Presti believes that like they probably stole some wins, for this upcoming season, last season, but also just wonder with just that bad luck stretch, if maybe they left some wins on the table too, just because of that. And that happens with every team. And so it's like hard to say like, oh, like every team has like something bad that happens to them during a stretch of time. But I mean, you look at from their 73rd, like the last 10 games of the season, where it was like Clippers, Lakers, Blazers. And then they had this stretch that was Blazers, Hornets, Pistons, Pacers. And it was just like, oh, like they got to win all of those.
Yeah.
They won half of those. They lost to the Hornets at home.
Crazy.
Remember that? That was so bad. That was so
terrible.
Bad. I was at that game. It was the PJ Washington 43-6-5 game. Just unbelievable. And the Thunder, they were missing Shea. So it was Giddey, J-Dub, Dort, Isaiah Joe, Will was the starting lineup. Joe had 33 points in that game. J-Dub had 33, 3 and 4 with 4 steals. And they almost just got like nothing off the bench. They had Trey and JRE coming off the bench playing big minutes, and they just weren't very productive. Jang played 12 minutes in that game. Wiggins played 12 minutes, did nothing. Poku played 9 minutes. It's like one of Poku's first games back, just couldn't do anything. That was just such a bad loss. And then they go on, and so they have Pacers, Suns, Warriors, next 3, lose. Remember that at the Pacers game was brutal too. They lost by 4.
they couldn't buy a 3.
It was on a Friday night. Yeah, I remember that. And they had a chance to win that game down the stretch. And Shea came back. Shea was back in that game, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
39, 9-4, and lost. Anyways, they lose all these games down the stretch, and you just wonder, okay, what if they didn't lose all those games? So February 23rd through March 1st, they didn't win a game. They lose at Utah, at Phoenix. They lost to the Kings at home. Twice they lost to the Kings at home on the 26th and the 28th. And they lost to the Lakers at home as well. They have like this 3-game homestand where it's like, just get one. Like, just get one of those games.
Yeah.
You know, if they had Shea and they had Mike and they had Kenrich, just like, could they have won 44 games, 43 games? Not that makes a huge difference, you know, in like the grand scheme of things. But they were there on the razor's edge of what could have been done. And let's see, if they would have won 40, the Warriors and the Clippers, who are 5-6, won 44 games.
Yeah.
If they
could have been there.
4 games. It took 45 games to get home court advantage last season. 45.
Yeah. It's crazy. To me, 43 was in the Mike Muscala thing. I get that in the grand scheme of things. You have this.
You get 2 seconds for a guy who goes on and doesn't play for the team that traded for him. It's a great deal. It's a great
deal. And on top, even if at the time I was really pissed, because I think Mike is just a player that can accentuate whatever Shea does. But we got to see a version of J. Will that was there and was impossible to get to with Mike there. So I get it. In some sense, just keep Mike and just don't do the Sharch deal. Just do it. Just start J. Will. It's probably the same. And you don't. The Sharch thing was another stuff that is not necessary. Just keep Mike 3 seconds. that is the deal. I don't know. As our 3 seconds.
You're just you're adding to your treasure trove. Like that's Mike.
Yeah.
But
again, it's probably fine. I think the 2-3 games. It's what you even if you have the Kenrich stuff.
And the truth is, like, every team deals with like injury luck and like misfortune at times. Presti talked about it. The sky falls, twice or 3 times or 5 times every season for every team. It's like, how do you handle that? So like we can go back. We can also go back and say, like, let's take away that Dallas win. Like that should have been a win for the Thunder. You can go back and quibble, and like the truth is they probably end up somewhere around 40 to 43 or 38 to 43 wins if you resimulate the season over and over again. Like they're in that range no matter what.
But let me read you stuff from last season. I opened like that stretch of games at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Aaron Wiggins, 24 minutes. Jeremiah Robinson Earl, 19 minutes. Laney Waters III, 16 minutes. Trey Mann, 14 minutes. Against the Hornets, you have JRE, 26 minutes. Trey Mann, 17 minutes. Usman Jang, 12. Aaron Wiggins, 12. Poku and Jared Butler, Sharch played that game. Against, let me see, the Pacers. Aaron Wiggins, 27 minutes. Isaiah Joe, 24. That is a good thing. And then you have 17 minutes of Lindy, 10 minutes of Poku, Jang. What I'm trying to say here, and on top you have 36 minutes of Lou Dort, 15 minutes of J. Will. What I'm trying to say here is that next year, a lot of the fringe rotation kind of guys will be much better than what they were. And you have a better version of J-Dub, as we said. You have most likely quite a better version of Josh Giddey. And you have Chet Holmgren.
you
So
have Chet, and you're adding Mitsic, and you're adding Case and Wallace, and I mean, you're just adding a lot of talent to the team.
but even if
And
Case
adding a better,
takes 3 years, suppose that Mitchell is nothing,
yeah,
you still have like a different roster and a better one. So if you bank on, or if you really believe, but banking it's a strong word here, that J-Dub is born for a different season, I just can't see this team like being like just 2-3 wins better than last year. And there are still discussion that, wow, the West got better. No, the West is basically the same.
yeah,
With
it's about
probably
the same.
one very good player going east and a team that acquired a few players that will be marginally better than what they were in Houston that they were last year,
Yeah.
and it will be a mess. So
Yeah.
I don't really understand this.
Yeah,
like
who
this
who
team,
is going to be markedly better than last year?
I don't have an answer.
Like what team in the West? Like
Yeah,
Memphis is going to be worse.
Yeah, maybe the Warriors.
Memphis won 51 games last year. They're not winning 51 games this year.
I think the Sacramento will be better.
That's kind of
because
you think they're winning more than 48.
No, but I think that they are better than last year. I'm not sure they will win 48.
Yeah,
but they will be better because they know each other.
Your continuity. Yeah,
and Keeks is going to be better.
Yeah.
He's ready for a different role. So
yeah,
in the same way, I'm pumping up OKC. I think they banked on continuity, and they didn't cheat last year. They were actually playing good basketball.
yeah. Minnesota can be better. They could win more than 42 games. They could win like 45 games.
Yeah, they can. I don't believe that, but they can.
I don't know what Phoenix is going to look like.
Yeah, you can say that Phoenix is better. Those three being healthy the entire year. Or what about the rotations? Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. Yeah, in Port, like, I don't know. I think it's also just like looking at the landscape. I think it's more likely that we just don't get that Utah pick too. You know, I think Utah. If I'm Utah, like I just lean into the guys you just took, Keontae George and whoever else, and Kessler and those guys, and let them do their thing, marketing. That's the direction I lean. And then I figure the Thunder, I think you'd rather not have all the picks be in this next draft.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I think that will work out just fine for both teams. And, Utah gets another like 7th or 8th or 9th pick, whatever. Okay. All right. That's enough. That's a lot. That's a lot of podcasts right there. Hour 17.
I miss you, so it's nice to have a long podcast.
It was good. It was very good. I actually have a special podcast coming to you guys this week.
Wow.
So tune in for that at some point. It'll drop either tomorrow or Tuesday. I'm not sure when I'm going to drop that yet. It just depends on how things go. But we'll have an extra pod for you this week. So tune in for that. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we will talk to you guys again on Wednesday.